This is a 15-year-old Samsung laptop with just 2 gigabytes of RAM and an Intel Atom processor inside. The question is, in 2026, what can a machine like this still do with Windows 7? And as you can probably guess, the experience is pretty rough. It's slow, it freezes, and it's basically no longer practical for everyday use. But today, I'm going to try saving this poor little laptop by replacing Windows 7 with a lightweight Linux operating system. Can Linux bring it back to life one more time? Let's find out. This is the Samsung NC108 released in 2011. It is a true mini laptop with a screen only around 10 inches, and I can easily hold it in one hand. Overall, it's surprisingly intact. There are no signs of serious scratches or heavy impact, and it's actually still pretty clean. The sticker on the bottom still has all the information on it. It looks like the previous owner took pretty good care of it. The design is also pretty interesting with this contrasting color scheme. The lid and keyboard are white, while the bottom of the machine and the screen bezel are black. Of course, after 15 years, the white parts have yellowed over time, especially around the outer shell, the spacebar, and the surrounding keyboard area. But honestly, for a 15-year-old laptop, it still looks pretty decent. The sides are slightly rounded, and the design has this kind of sci-fi look to it. Even though it's old, it still feels surprisingly stylish. Look at this tiny little touchpad. Yeah, there's no way this is going to be enough for me. On this side, we have the charging port USB and LAN. On the other side, things get a little more interesting. This power button actually looks pretty cool. It's not just a boring square or round power button. And here we have the legendary VGA output, which I'm pretty sure I won't be using right now. Another detail I actually like is the battery at the back, which sticks out a bit. When you place the laptop on a desk, it lifts the body up slightly, almost like a built-in stand. Pretty smart design, honestly. But let's wake up for a second. It's 2026 now, don't let this cute little design fool you. After pressing the power button, I had to wait nearly 5 minutes just for Windows 7 to fully boot up. There's probably still a mechanical hard drive inside with roughly the same age as the laptop itself. Luckily, this tiny touchpad and the keys still work. And before doing anything else, I need to quickly check the specs. Here we go, Windows 7 Ultimate with an Intel Atom N455 CPU and 2 gigabytes of RAM. Oh, this is not just a weak laptop. This is a laptop that wants to remind you that patience is a virtue. But strangely enough, once it fully loaded into the desktop, things weren't as bad as I expected at first. I opened File Explorer, clicked the Start menu, right-clicked a few times, and everything responded relatively well. For hardware from the ancient era, it wasn't freezing nearly as badly as I thought it would. And then I tried opening the Games folder from the Start menu, and my optimism disappeared immediately. The mouse cursor started spinning, and the window showed not responding. Luckily, I don't give up that easily. After about a minute of waiting, the Games menu finally appeared. I tried opening Minesweeper because if a computer can't even play this game, then we might as well start planning its funeral. Holy shit! The system froze again for a little while, but eventually the game launched and it was actually playable. Let's celebrate a small victory for this poor little Samsung. Alright, and this machine still has Microsoft Office 2010 installed. I tried opening Word and luckily it still worked. And if we ignore the fact that the backspace key on this machine is broken, the experience actually isn't too bad. But when I opened Chrome, the browser showed a message saying it no longer supports updates on Windows 7. A gentle reminder that it's not just this laptop that's old, the operating system has also been left behind by time. I typed YouTube into the search bar and it took around 30 seconds for the results to show up. Then I opened YouTube and it took another 30 seconds for the website to fully load. Finally, I tried playing a video, and it lagged horribly. The video could play, but it kept stuttering constantly. By default, it was running at 360p. I decided to give this machine one last chance by lowering it to 144p. Okay, it seems to breathe a little easier now, but it still stutters slightly. But honestly, in this experience feels like I'm severely nearsighted and forgot to wear my glasses. It's pathetic. Alright, that's enough. This machine still works. But forcing a single-core Intel Atom chip to run Windows 7 on an old HDD is just torture. So it's time for a change. I need something much lighter. After doing some research, I decided to go with Antix Linux. This is a super lightweight Linux distribution based on Debian, designed for old low-end computers. For this Samsung NC108, I'm going with the 32-bit version. Technically, the Atom N455 does support 64-bit, but with 2 GB of RAM and performance this weak, I don't want to force it to carry anything unnecessary. But before installing Antix, I need to deal with the first suspect, the old HDD inside this machine. This thing took almost 5 minutes of my life just to boot into Windows. Anyway, it's time to take this laptop apart. First, let's remove the battery. It just slides out. Underneath, there's a small cover, and inside is our only stick of 2 GB DDR3 RAM. Interesting, this design makes RAM replacement easy without having to take the whole machine apart. Next, I need to remove the entire bottom cover. I just have to make sure all the screws are out, then gently pry it open. Nothing too difficult. Oh, that's surprising. The inside is pretty clean for a 15-year-old laptop. The motherboard still looks fairly shiny, and there's barely any noticeable dust. Looks like the previous owner was a very clean person. And here it is, a 320GB Hitachi HDD with 5400 revolutions per minute. Now I understand why everything was slower than a turtle. This appears to be the original drive that came with the machine, and it even has a rubber shock absorbing sleeve wrapped around it. And right now, I officially approve this hard drive's immediate retirement. Instead, I'm going to install this cheap 128GB SSD. Come on, it's only worth a few cups of coffee, but the speed will definitely be much faster than the HDD we just fired. Now let's put everything back where it belongs. The hardware is ready. Next, I need to create a bootable USB for Antix Linux. This part is pretty simple. Open Rufus, write the ISO file to the USB, wait for the process to finish, and that's it. Now it's time to bring this tiny Samsung back to life. I'm going to plug in the USB, power it on, and read a few magic spells. I powered on the machine, selected boot from USB, chose to start Antix, and waited a little while for the system to load. And here we are, this is the main interface of Antix Linux. We have a desktop, a taskbar, and an application menu. Pretty similar to Windows, it actually looks fairly easy to use. What surprised me the most is that the system is only using 126 megabytes of RAM right now, and the CPU load is just a little over 10%. That is seriously impressive. This is a very promising start. It feels like this machine has been given a new soul. Next, I clicked Install Antix to install the operating system onto the SSD. Basically, we just go through a few setup steps. Language, time zone, creating a user account, then click Next. Wait a little for the data to be written to the drive, and then the system automatically reboots. Unplug the USB, done. And this time, it looks like we didn't have to sit around for 5 minutes just to get this thing to boot anymore. It's basically a race car now. Right after booting up, Antix automatically opened Conman, the system's network manager. Luckily, it detected the Wi-Fi driver right away. Now let's see what this machine can actually do with Antix Linux and whether it performs better than Windows 7. First, normal desktop use. Thanks to the SSD and Antix's lightweight design, opening the file manager, app menu feels much faster and more responsive. No freezing, no painful delay like Windows 7. Now let's try Firefox. I opened Reddit and things were still pretty laggy. At this point, the CPU was running at 100%, while RAM usage was a little over 700 megabytes. Clearly, the biggest bottleneck here is the CPU. It looks like we're asking way too much from a single core processor. YouTube was also better at loading, but video playback still wasn't great. Video playback still stutters at 360p. When I lowered it to 144p, the stuttering improved a little. So, and in terms of web loading speed, things have better. But when it comes to video playback, there isn't a clear improvement. For LibreOffice, Antix still feels pretty decent to use. Everything works well, and I can still type documents comfortably. As for games, they definitely run better than they did on Windows. Everything feels smoother, and the system no longer freezes. In the end, Antix is definitely much lighter than Windows 7 when it comes to RAM usage, but that doesn't mean everything suddenly feels like a brand new machine. We did get a small performance improvement, and overall the laptop works better. But this is not a magical upgrade because the hardware itself is just too limited. But honestly, after all of this testing, I have to say old computer hardware is actually pretty interesting. If you have any suggestions for what I should try next, let me know down in the comments. I'll see you next time.